This old trick again, huh?
No can do. Was that you? Or will do. They will descend the future on the battlefield.
Seriously, what is he doing? I don't really understand.
Let's see. A wicked thought. Oh, a genius. Another one is
Oh
shattered.
my god. 1,400 damage, the thing goes down instantly.
Skis with the future. I lead.
Let's mark this one. It's inspired my pink horror.
Am I getting paid for this? You've got a problem.
Oh no, I messed up.
I
I gotta stop doing that.
Ruin beckons.
Destiny.
Oh wait. It's big.
Amidst the carnage, I find purpose.
I will.
Nailed it.
I want a satisfying demise.
So good. I'm not OP.
Triumph. Rend the flesh.
I mean-
Shatter the spirit.
Maybe, maybe a little bit. Maybe a little bit.
Watch my back. I can do that with the right incentive.
All right, Jai, it's all you.
Don't get too cocky.
Was that 1,800 damage? That's wild. It's a lot of damage. Oh, here we go. That was a good fight. The ancient monster struggles against the energy manacles of the yoke. Its impossible powers that make reality itself burst at the seams are now being forced into a compact dungeon. Quark by quark, returning it to a cruel and painful non-existence in the moment. It could struggle harder, but something is hindering it. You are the cause of these hindrances. Only now does the Catan shard turn its focus to you. For the battle was nothing more than the reflexive resistance of an alien mind absorbed in a completely different range of thoughts and responses, but now it is thinking about you, and its thoughts are so corporeal that you can sense them and know them. It seeks an end to the confrontation. It is capable of resolving it in any way that would benefit all. More and more tears appear all over the shard's form. As the yoke absorbs its power, it becomes increasingly harder for the shard to maintain its physical structure. Each imperfection you inflict brings the star predator closer to imprisonment. Do not bow your head before your abominable precursor. It was begotten by the dark abysses of the past. It is a fragment of that which devoured stars and erased civilizations. It knows no benefit other than its own. Allow us to stand against it. This is our time, our impossible chance. Oh, wait! Theodora, as yet another layer of reality cracks, a figure appears before you. Her. After giving you a probing and appraising look, Theodora permits herself a slight smile. Oh, we have choices. Uh-oh. Try to touch Theodora. Think about the Catan. Nomos. Deliver the final blow. I consign you to oblivion without end, monster. Deliver the final blow. You shall bend to my will. Destroy the yoke and kneel before the ancient deity. I am ready to serve. Which one seems the most I'm in for either the bend, to my will, or I'm ready to serve. I don't think I want to kill it. This looks kind of... I mean, for my kind of ending of my run here, Heretical feels like these two bottom ones. You know? What about Nomos? Maybe we should ask... Maybe we should talk to him. If our birth ever had purpose, then it is here and now. What do you call the shard? Why do you call the shard your precursor? Because that is what it is, and what we are. We have told you before about Theodora's ambition, Amonat's mind, the ship's cradle, and Epitaph's secret. One sprouted into another and spurred yet another. Thus, Nomos were born. We were but an echo of the shard's power. Oh, an echo that left this prison. We have become something so much more with your help. What do you intend to do? Clash with the precursor. Touch it, absorb it. So that the reflection becomes the object reflected. So that the shard becomes Nomos. Then, and only then, will its threat be eradicated forever. Do you think you can do this, Nomos? What will happen afterwards? We stand at the threshold of probabilities, and outside the bounds of predictable. It is beyond possible to know whether we can or cannot. We are burning to try. How can we refuse such a feast? I have made my decision. So we can get act now, my child. Aw. That's like me becoming Chaos from Orlon and then me passing it down to Nomos. Yeah, I'm thinking bend to my will, or actually let's do the Nomos one, shall we? We've given him all these chances so far. Face Nomos, act now, my child. We crave battle, it will be sweet. Nomos stepped towards the shard, and the whole world explodes into a terrifying whirlwind. You can hear the colours and see the touches. Ice burns your hands while fire leaves you freezing. And in the midst of this madness, you can clearly sense a battle raging, a clash of two beings, one endlessly ancient and the other endlessly young. Oh, there he goes. Okay, this is the shard. The power of the Catan shard is such that it redefines the very notion of power. But it has a weakness, one that you can see only now. The shard and its rival standing face to face, the shard is just that, a shard. It is incomplete, it is not the whole, and it cannot be what the Catan was before. What opposes the shard is something entirely different, an undivided, sentient being with a clear purpose in mind, akin to a well-aimed arrow, and the one who fletched and loosed this arrow was you. The battle goes on and on and on, outrunning the course of time, but you do not need the gift of clairvoyance to know who will emerge victorious. Hey, way to go, Nomos. Boom. That sounds kind of cool. Oh, that's totally it. What a cool ending, and what a cool background here. Look at the screen. The Catan shard was transmuted into a new form, and the name was Nomos. Possessing the power of an ancient being and nurtured by the rogue trader, the young star god watched over the Coronis Expanse, their new domain, with curiosity. The Coronis Expanse became the hunting grounds of the new wicked sovereign of the Von Valancius dynasty. From the ruins of an old order, a new kingdom was born, one that worshipped the dark gods of the warp. The formation of a new gargantuan punitive squadron began in the Calixis sector. However, no one knew if it would make it through the furious warp storms to the Great Rift. Nomos did not have long to learn their new powers. At the bidding of the dark gods, Schaefer von Valancius imprisoned them within the yoke, turning them into their shackled monster. Oh. The strange entity imbued with the silver of a star god's power was beyond the reach of the rulers of the warp, and as such, they were dangerous and destined to be enslaved. So what? Nomos merged with the shard and then we just imprisoned the poor guy again anyway? Okay, fair enough. When the Rogue Trader rebelled against the Imperium, she united heretics and enemies of the Creed in the expanse around her. No one was brave enough to challenge the mistress of the enslaved Stellar Beast. Under the Rogue Trader's iron rule, a new legion of ruinous power was forming, welded together by fear and obedience. The unholy blessing of the Dark Gods fell on the shoulders of the Rogue Trader, showing everybody that she was their champion, destined to bring the Expanse under their rule. But it is well known that the favour of the Lords of the Warp is fickle. A mysterious entity, referred to by some as the King of Distortion, granted immense power to its herald in this conflict. Sometimes the Rogue Trader was struck with incredible luck that was accompanied by strange discrepancies in the memories of its witnesses. While some remembered events as though they actually transpired, others recalled different circumstances, much less favourable to the Lord Captain. But the Expanse is filled with fools and madmen, is it not? Okay. Having lost its leader and lacking a worthy successor, the Chaudia dynasty began to weaken. The grim legacy of the abominable Aspis revealed itself, and the Protectorate fell into chaos. Grasping claimants tore the defenseless Dements apart. The era of Caligos's cruelty and wrath came to an end. Only then did the many terrified witnesses to his vile crimes step forward to recount them. Memories of the good, prosperous years of the Protectorate under the wise rule of Caligos Winterscale were eclipsed by the legacy of his innumerable and bloody crimes. So he was a genuinely bad guy, right? Yvain Winterscale underwent his Magna Accessio and became his dynasty's new rogue trader. Many said that the noble Yvain lacked firmness of judgment, yet he had more than enough trust, even in those who were unworthy of it. The young rogue trader did not forget those who had saved him from the Reichad system or the favours that House von Valancius had bestowed on the Winterscales. If only he knew. This guy over here, he's not around because of me, Chief. Thanks to the patronage of the von Valancius dynasty, the cult of the Saint Drusus was successful in spreading its influence across the Expanse. Overshadowed, the cults of other saints lost their followers and faced a harsh choice: slip into obscurity or swear allegiance to the ideals of Drusus the warrior. Aware of their power, many Ministerium hierarchs in the Expanse saw themselves not as servants of the God Emperor, but as rulers in his place, entitled to reverence and luxury. This may be the reason why the cult of Saint Drusus did not call the faithful to a single purifying crusade against the von Valancius Protectorate. The nauseating breath of the grandfather Nurgle poisoned the sermons of Reverend Doloroso. Preaching omnipresence of rot and taint, he no longer called for purification, but tormented the souls of his flock instead. Fallen into despair and craving solace, his people were willing to bow to any force that could promise peace and relief from their suffering. So Nurgle got involved over here too. In the following years, the Cognizance fleet slowly and deliberately left the explored systems of the Expanse for the furthest remote regions. Observation stations and claimed worlds were abandoned. Even Euphrates II became derelict. Statistical deviation warned the fleet's conclave of the grim events awaiting the Expanse, and they decided to deliver their fellows from the coming storm. And yet, they did not share the truth with the lay people. The schism of discontinuing the cycle engulfed the entire Cognizance fleet, and soon the civil war was over. Disregarding the commandments of their forefathers, the explorators started down a dangerous path of new comprehension, creation, and revision of procedures and algorithms. The fleet was united once more, and in its unity, it was ready to stare down any horrors standing in the way of the catechism of maintenance and operation. Magus Dominus Opticon 22, one of the first to hail the return of the Messiah, took the helm of the mother squadron of the Cognizance fleet. Unquestioningly, embracing the teaching of the discontinuing the cycle, he personally saw to the crushing of any renegades who did not accept the Messiah's word as truth, and earned himself the identifier Chrome Scourge. Wow. The crisis in the Coronis Expanse dealt a serious blow to the business interests of the Fellowship of the Void. Having no powerful allies, they retreated into the darkness of the frontier systems. The hard life they faced there forged them into a new tribe, furious, wild, and willing to do anything for survival. They swore to return and retake what had once been theirs. As their enemies' activities ramped up, the Fellowship of the Void required more powerful allies. Old Riser, with other pirates following suit, embraced the blasphemous doctrine of the Dark Gods, and their ships became immune to the damage caused by the harsh warp storms. If prior accusations of the pirates' widespread worship of the ruinous powers had been wildly exaggerated, with every passing year they became closer to the truth. We could have been closer friends. Violence throughout the Expanse put many on their guard. As a result, the Caspalic Emissions business declined. Soon, rumours surfaced among the cold traders about a so-called commission that had been made through the Maw and into the Expanse. Its professed purpose was to audit assets and take measures to restructure operations. These words carried with them an ominous threat. Vladam Takara, the Liege of Footfall, survived 14 assassination attempts and thwarted no less than 2,000 schemers before a shot finally took his life. The esteemed Liege's funeral was held in great secrecy, with only his closest entourage being permitted to view his corpse, which spawned some peculiar rumours. Vladam, who had formerly stayed clear of those suspected of heresy and dealings with the corrupted goods, changed his mind with time. The mission ships not only brought contraband to different worlds, but they also transferred suspicious individuals, clutching books bound in strange hide. Not everyone liked it, but no one was brave enough to challenge the orders of the terrifying Vakimo. The Imperial Navy was wary of the rise of the Von Valancius. They saw themselves as dogs, guarding the flock of the Emperor's subjects, and there was a new master of the pack. Therefore, the dynasty watched with utmost diligence, and the admirals feared that one day they would have to go to war against the rogue trader. Chartist Captain Osterius Thorfast founded the Thorfast and Companions Merchant Company, excelling in trade and acquiring a substantial escort fleet. After 3 decades, he travelled to the Maw to return to the Imperium in hopes of obtaining the fabled warrant of trade. It is not known how his venture ended. When the rogue trader's apostasy became apparent, the Imperial Navy fulfilled its duty and fought the Von Valancius dynasty. The Battle of Dargonus ended in resounding defeat, and the surviving ships fled to distant systems. Disheartened but not broken, the captains vowed to rebuild their force and planned raids into the apostate territory. So you got whooped, huh? Sounds about right. Dargonus continued to grow for 2 decades until a terrifying rebellion put a decisive end to its prosperity. A genetic anathema known as the Gene Stealer cult infiltrated the hives of Dargonus and tried to take over the world. Millions were exterminated in purges, and street battles destroyed many hives, setting Dargonus back centuries and depriving it of its chance to become the capital of the Expanse. No. The foulness that festered in the depths of Kiava Gamma was patient. Its tentacles crept into workshop after workshop, capturing Magus after Magus. The words of the Banoric mantras were distorted, and the algorithmic catechism was compromised. Beneath the shell of iron, a vile worm gnawed at the world's heart. Kiava Gamma grew, and new manufactorums were founded, until disturbing reports started to trickle in many years later. It seemed that someone had secretly taken control of the colony, shrouding it in a tangle of conspiracy. Neither inquiries nor threats to tech priests or executions helped. Someone in the shadows was weaving their web and making secret plans. How dare they? That's my planet. Janus was conquered. Oh. Damn. The Xenos spirits were exorcised and the wilderness was subdued. Oh, maybe that's actually good. Yeah, maybe this is good for us. The fields grew until they covered the entire planet, and billions of tons of provisions were harvested there. Janus had become the breadbasket of the Expanse, and to threaten it would be to condemn millions to starvation. The nobility of the Expanse appreciated the idyllic conditions of the pearl-like paradise world. White castles rose above the agri complexes and their mud, and the shining knights of Janus gifted the sector with many a hero who covered themselves in glory. Vistenza's reign was long and bloody. The Prince of Pleasure bestowed the secrets of metamorphosis upon her and Janus's nature. Janus's nature was transformed. Okay. An endless string of serfs was sent into her palace, their blood, flesh, and souls consumed in experimentation or endless revelry. Over the years, Vistenza's body became covered in scales, becoming long and sinuous. She no longer left her lair, which was filled with specimens of delicious degradation and corrupted wisdom. Sounds like a party. The minds of Viva 6 grew deeper and deeper, and soon the planet became the darkest and most frightening colony in the Expanse. The final stop for the exiled and the damned. The brutal, hardened inhabitants of the Death World feared neither humans nor xeno-horrors, knew no mercy, and were known to be the most fearsome fighters in the sector, who had traded their lives for the right to leave the eternal darkness of the mines. The harsh Vivos 6 became a land of trials, capable of testing one's righteousness. The repentant and the zealous alike flocked there to be purified and toughened by its poisonous atmosphere. In the ominous halls of the Fortress of the Penance, the Grim Guard was established, an order of crusaders who guarded the purity of the Expanse, renowned for their tenacity and feared for their unyielding fanaticism. After recovering from Chorda's regime, Footfall reclaimed its status as the trading hub of the Expanse. Having learned a bitter lesson, Vladam Takara created the Footfall Partisans Militia, a well-equipped mercenary army that answered only to him. A modicum of order returned to the station. The changes that the von Valancius dynasty brought to the Footfall endured on the station long after. The time of inquiry declared by the rogue trader turned Footfall into a nest of depravity. Peaceful traders could hardly find a place to dock among the pirate ships, and merchants no longer bothered to wipe the blood from their ill-gotten goods. The Imperial Navy tried to free Footfall from this bane 3 times, each time retreating with heavy losses. The Drusian preachers dwelling on the station turned into grim ascetics. Ascetics? I don't know. Ridden with ulcers and swelling with disease. Many voidsmen looking for redemption were attracted to the new forbidding image of the cult. Rumors abounded that the recurring technical breakdowns poisoning entire asteroids were the work of the Drusarians, who led their flock through suffering of faith and new faith. Yeah, one with Nurgle. Liege Takara, under a secret oath of loyalty to the rogue trader, you see, he got him in the back pocket, slowly but surely corrupted the station. During the restoration of the magnificent statue of the God Emperor, his craftsmen introduced faults in the structure that were invisible to the naked eye. Yet years later, astropaths noticed that the light of the Astronomicon was greatly dimmed around Footfall. The corrupted harvest from Janus was reaped in Footfall's agro-chapels. The food cooked from it sowed the seeds of corruption among the station's citizens and bred voracity in all things. Hedonistic cults appeared seemingly out of nowhere all over the station, the most prominent among them being the cult of the Blessed Harvest. It took upon itself to cultivate tainted crops so that everyone could taste the fruit of true faith. I just made this entire expanse into just one festering pit of chaos. It's crazy. It's great, but the record system turned into a purulent wound of corruption poisoning the Expanse. The surreal energies of the yawning warp legion held its planets together even in the absence of gravitational pull of a star, defying the very laws of existence. Immense depravity took root on Rykad Minoris, and it poured out into other systems with vile glee. Hey, Urlon. The cult of the Final Dawn gladly submitted to their new leader from the von Valancius dynasty. They saw in her the promised harbinger of the final daybreak, whose light would change the expanse forever. Seeing the true champion of the Dark Gods in the Rogue Trader, the Word-Bearers established themselves in the Von Valancius Dements. Thousands of scribes scratched away on the data slates, slowly losing their minds as they recorded the words of unholy teachings, and thousands of voxes broadcast the Word-Bearers' hideous sermons across the expanse. Oof, how many of these are there? Urlon the Cruel was not an advisor to the Rogue Trader for long. During a session of vile worship with his mistress, he was struck with a vision that was equally frightening and awe-inspiring. The terror instilled in the heart of the hardened heretic was so profound, so incomprehensible, that Urlon promptly embarked on a journey. The Eye of the Terror itself was his goal. There he hoped to find someone who could interpret the vision that had overwhelmed him. No one could say if fate would ever lead him back to the Expanse, or if the Rogue Trader would accept him if he did. Traitor, leaving me alone. Rumours of the rotting remains of the Aldari craft world spread around the Expanse. Explorators, privateers, Caspalica agents, and anyone hungry for easy money all rushed to Frontier Systems to vie for a piece of the prize. Some were swallowed by the warp, while others perished in skirmishes with their rivals. The most skilled and fortunate returned empty-handed after decades of searching. The colossal ship, as big as an Imperial world, simply vanished, as if it had never existed. But the legend of the forbidden treasures lived on and continued to bring daring souls to ruin. Half a century later, the Expanse trembled to the echo of the Aldari war songs. Myriad warbands appeared out of nowhere, leaving a trail of bodies in their wake, before disappearing into webway gates. Masterfully hidden from the eyes of the monkey, the children of the Azorian had come to avenge the death of the craft world, Kudorak. Their woeful retribution lasted many decades until both races were war-worn and out of blood to spill. The spirit monolith, purified by the Harlequin troop on the Crone world, was hidden from the insatiable eyes of the monkey by raging warp storms. Ships started going missing more frequently in the systems close to the planet. Even the most courageous captains gave the region a wide berth, and it was named Damned Reefs. Somewhere on the underside of reality lay Camorra, woven from manifold other dimensions, and illuminated, as always, with lights of stolen suns, its streets ever filled with screams and agony. Any misfortune experienced by the Dark City became another scar on its appalling face, last among thousands of other vile blemishes. As long as pain pulsed in its blood-soaked spires, the insatiable and unshakable Camorra continued its flight through the webway, along with its unchanging ruler, the leader of the Cabal of the Black Heart and the most dangerous of all Drakari, Astrubial Vect, I guess. After the Rogue Trader's visit, dimensional rifts open around the spire of the Reaving Tempest, flooding the streets of Camorra with demons. This incursion terrified Camorra. The Cabal of the Black Heart managed to stop it, but some Archons saw the event as a sign of their leader's weakness. Others interpreted it as a grim omen for the entirety of the Dark City. Perhaps they were right. Not all the abominations from the Immaterium that broke into the spire of the Reaving Tempest were hunted down. Entities that served the edge of daybreak hid in the darkest corners, making plans for further destruction to the Dark City, and waited for the perfect moment to strike. They knew the opportunity would present itself very soon. Cool. The fall of the Cabal of the Reaving Tempest united Camorra for a brief and bloody moment. The elites of the Dark City set their squabbles aside and found a new game in tearing apart the domain of Archon Eumeres. The fate of the Reaving Tempest reminded the other Cabals that nothing lasts forever in the Dark City, save the city itself. In the end, the cult of the Fatal Thirst did not recover from the demon's bloodbath in the arena. After losing all of its succubi, it became an easy target, and soon the entire arena, along with its spectators, died in a sudden and surprisingly rapid dimensional collapse, sending the screaming Xenos souls right into the maw of She Who Thirsts. Whew. Leaving the Necrom systems behind, the Star God vengefully obliterated every tomb world of the ancient Xenos race. The old hatred of the Khitan, betrayed by their deathless servants, whispered inside him. The voice of the Voxmaster Victis, Suri Otter of the Ptoleman dynasty, was long heard in the Coronis expanse. Its echo embedded itself in the vox frequencies of the worlds of that the rogue trader visited, driving those who had the misfortune of hearing it mad. Way to go, Victus. Through the deranged laughter and wretched weeping, the message could be heard. Valancius comes. I'm here. As the years passed, Master Helmsman Raver's ill temper became even more unbearable. Continuing his never-ending watch on the bridge, he tormented any member of the crew who he deemed not sufficiently diligent in fulfilling their duties. Holding the helm with his many hands, he woefully pronounced grim prophecies, filling hearts with despair. As years passed, High Factotum Janris Danrock became so corpulent, that he was unable to leave his chambers, preferring to administer affairs through messengers. His monumental body could not squeeze into the common decks, which was for the better. The High Factotum's tastes, both refined and hideous, represented a flagrant example of moral depravity, and proved too odious for even the rogue trader's crew to witness. Urban Drivestem cared more about preserving the influence of his line than the well-being of the Protectorate. His blind ambition lost him his governor's seat and the respect of his family. Within a few generations, one of the largest houses of Dargonus turned into an obscure family of petty aristocrats. What is this? Toriana? Oh yeah, Caprak. Missed the moment when her family, which had previously functioned like a well-oiled machine, started to fall apart, racked by infighting. Among their distant relatives, many blamed Toriana for the Kiava Gamma disaster. Soon the Caprak family splintered into warring factions and spent centuries locked in a violent struggle, only occasionally punctured by futile attempts to reunite the house. Profane orders issued by the rogue trader in defiance of the commandments of the God Emperor pushed Macharis Saurback to betray his mistress, but the traitor in the making was turned over to the rogue trader by the son of a zealous aristocrat. No longer held back by his father's authority, Hector Saurback, as the new head of the house, was quick to indulge in new opportunities previously beyond his reach. Yeah, way to go, man. Take advantage. The retribution that Nocturne of the Oblivion promised the rogue trader arrived when relentless Eldari Avengers swept down on the Von Valancius Protectorate. In their wake, several Harlequin troops performed the monstrous and mesmerizingly bloody Melody of Coals, fading in the night that bathed Janus in the sorrow and fury of the playwright in a horned mask. That was a mouthful. After months of searching, Dargonus wardens found the remains of Achilles Scalander on the lowest levels of the hive. Drakari artifacts and records discovered beside him indicated that the agent of the Inquisition had been compromised and was working for the Xenos. Really? The savage deeds that Gorday Skatov witnessed on Footfall traumatized him forever. His agricultural genius was shattered. Only the rare collections of true connoisseurs held his work, written in a shaky hand. Footfall, the ultimate void station and mortuary. The Expanse is full of strange stories, yet one of the most bizarre tales emerged in the wake of the rogue trader von Valancius' rise to prominence. According to the legend, on the very world the rogue trader visited, in every world the rogue trader visited, people or objects would suddenly vanish without a trace if they found themselves in the same room as a mirror. Even an utterly ordinary one. It's ages ago when I picked that mirror up and put it in my ship. It's that mirror, that's funny. Abelard Viserion remained the Lord Captain Seneschal and right hand until his dying breath. House Viserion, cleared of accusations of mutiny, dedicated itself to Dargonus' fleet. When, years later, Abelard left this world, the worthiest successor of his family received the honor of inheriting the high office of Seneschal. Having completed his last journey with his Lord Captain, Abelard Viserion, with the gracious permission of the rogue trader, left his post as seneschal and took over the helm of his large family. Abelard continued to serve as seneschal. The madness... Wait, what? He'd left, but then he continued to serve? The madness permeating the rogue trader's ship had struck his mind as well. Uh-oh. The voice of his beloved and dearly missed spouse, Quatharina, began haunting his every step. At first the esteemed seneschal welcomed the insanity that overcame him. Then he ran from it in terror, trying to drown out his wife's voice in the barking of orders and the screams of castigated crew members. The sight of the grave officer, ragged in a dirty uniform, with a power cleaver in one hand and ringing ship's bells in the other, filled his subordinates with dread. Uh-oh. Upon arriving on Dargonus, he immediately assembled his family for a celebratory dinner. The wine at the feast was as poisoned as Abelard's own mind. Oh no. The Honourable Seneschal would never have to leave the festive hall again, destined to look over his beloved family forever. No one was going to take them from him now. No one can hurt you now, he muttered, repeating the words like a sick mantra, while caressing his ulcer-ridden lips with swollen hands, the dead faintly echoing him. Oh, Abelard, you couldn't handle it, huh, buddy? Some of us aren't built the same way, man. I get it. The expanse was falling further into darkness, surrendering to the power of the enemies of humanity. But even in the deepest shadow, a spark can be found. A white-haired maiden... Wait, what? Carrying a silver star, and with a charged shard of the Aquila at her waist, began to enter the dreams of the faithful across the sector. She inspired the bold to rise up against the forces of the archenemy. And for all the frail, the sick, and those tormented in captivity, she offered solace and words of strength to embolden them in the face of suffering. Weird. The Mercantum Tabula Officiale unlocked a sea of possibilities for Jai Hadari. She left the Kaspala Commission and became an independent agent. Choosing one's destiny is a unique gift that ordinary mortals could never dare dream of, but Jai was no ordinary mortal. She found new friends, skillfully danced along the knife's edge between trade and piracy, stole from the strong, granted mercy to the weak, and even bought a couple of modest planets. And she never, ever betrayed herself. Half a century later, a fledgling rogue trader, whose name is now forgotten, brutally crushed Jai. Accusing her of abusing her power, the rogue trader conquered her worlds, exterminated her people, and did everything in her power to wipe Jai's name and vulgar deeds from the Expanse's memory. Oh. Sorry, a fledgling rogue trader. Are you telling me that we didn't step in to help her? That's not good. I would have stepped in to help her. Surely. Once done for her passionate nature, after meeting the Lord Captain, Jai firmly refused to share her favour with all others who sought it. After the many adversities they had braved together, her heart belonged to the rogue trader. Yet I didn't help her when her planets were getting sacked. That doesn't make any sense. Decades later, a glorious ship was built on Carvagama, which became the new flagship of House von Valancius. The proud vessel was named Lady Jai. Oh, that's cool. The person known as Mercy never forgot the humiliation he suffered at the hands of Jai Hadari. Oh yeah, that dude, remember? Everyone she ever showed affection for would mysteriously die in some tragic way, and the sorrow of never-ending loss poisoned her heart. Only one person escaped this fate, and her name was Schaefer von Valancius. Yeah, that's me. That's me. Heinrich von Van Calix was killed unceremoniously, I think by Pandora, a non-main character. Interrogator of the Ordo Xenos, gave his life fighting the enemy of humanity, rogue trader von Valancius, who betrayed the Imperium and bowed down before forces hostile to mankind. Well, I mean, that depends on perspective, buddy. In her journeys with the rogue trader, Cassia Orselio experienced all the hardships and delights of the galaxy. The invaluable experience and new knowledge helped her to finally conquer her fears and accept herself and her powers. The Lady Navigator became Novita of her house, tasked with addressing the consequences of Tisiphane's rule and the chaos that followed her disappearance. For the duration of her reign, she patiently worked on uniting the feuding branches of the house, forging alliances and expanding the influence of House Orselio. The Stairway Atlas, which contained the memories of Tisiphone and the Satala clan, lost its power. House Orselio's navigators once again had to rely on skill alone in the depths of the Immaterium. Many lost their lives, but those who survived the crisis became hardened veterans and pillars of the house. Most of those fortunate souls were young and brave. Too few among them were old and wise. Idira pledged her loyalty to the ruinous powers to save her damned soul and allowed herself to merge with the voices that had been directing her for so long. For centuries, the many-faced monstrosity she eventually turned into guided the rogue trader on the path of corruption. With the wicked prophecies spoken by the innumerable mouths, only Schaefer von Valancius herself could decipher a single truthful message from the thousands of profane utterances in the maddening cacophony of voices. Way to go, Idira. Oh, just one page for Idira? Shame. In announcing the discontinuing of the cycle, Amarnat Collective instilled terror in the hearts of those who revered the theorems of purity. But it gave hope to others. After gathering its disciples and recruiting servo soldiers from the vassal planets, it ventured to the worlds of the Screaming Vortex and to the infernal forges of the Dark Mechanicus. This march of re-indoctrination was meant to seize the stolen secrets of the Omnissiah from the hands of the heretics, temper in the cult in the fire of battle, and transform it into a tool for both eradication and comprehension. The fleet disappeared in the darkness, and only rare echoes of its astropathic messages were ever intercepted. Yolette remained a prisoner of Camorra. Oh, in soul and body, until the end of her days. Wait, what? But she died. I killed her. Her re-education was put in the hands of the best witches, and her body was given over to the finest masters of flesh. Soon enough, the child of Azorian corrupted her own spirit stone, proving to the dark kin that she was one of them. Oh, great. So I had to kill her to corrupt her. Is that what you're telling me? She couldn't have been corrupted when I wanted her to be corrupted? I had to kill her first? Boo. Rogue Trader, boo. We should have been able to turn her into an evil one and keep her on my side. That would have been really cool. I mean, to corrupt at least one person would have been really nice, and for it to have been Yolette would have been great. And I don't think you can. I don't think there's any way that you could corrupt her into staying. And that's such a shame. Because here she's become corrupted anyway, right? So why couldn't it just have happened with me? The noble space wolf Ulfar ultimately found the honorable death he so longed for. He died in a fight with the rogue trader, who had betrayed the Allfather and his spirit soared to Kalshhala. Whether he met his brothers, the baleful Halther, only the dead know. Just that's it, babe. Such was the echo of the deeds of the rogue trader, House von Valancius. Deeds that transformed the Corona's expanse and prepared it for events even darker and more violent. But those are the events of a different story. This one has come to an end. Oh. Finish. It's kind of sad to click this finish. Such an adventure. It's been so good. And here we go. The end. There it is. Oof. Oh. Wow. It's hard to believe it's actually over, but that was so good. So good. A bit disappointed it was like really difficult to get 500 points in Heretic though. That's kind of a bummer because it's a... I mean, like, I think when I said I counted like 5 or 6 options I didn't take, and then I would have had 500 is nuts. To mess up on like 4 or 5 choices and not get max, I think is a bit harsh, a bit steep. I feel like it should be a tiny little bit easier to get max, but here we go. Because I reckon there might have been a difference. I don't know if there is, but there might have been a difference if I was rank 5 Heretic rather than rank 4. But, yeah. For another time, perhaps. But if I played it again when I do Heretic, I don't know. Heretic was fun. That was good though. I like that. So that'll be it for this episode. If you enjoyed, leave a like, subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the next one.